Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Entertainment Esquire. Today, we'll be discussing celebrity custody and the context of Haley Bailey versus DDG. Let's get started. So, is it true or false that Haley can no longer post her son on social media? This is so true, but it also applies to DDG, which I think is the bigger win because, unlike DDG, Haley does not post for monetization versus DDG does. And so, even though this rule now applies to her and him, it is a win for her because she did not want her son overly exposed. So I think this is actually a win, even though the rule applies to her. What people are not talking about is that the order also says no information about the minor child can be shared online, which I think they're entering into dangerous territory. They're entering in basically Tayana Taylor, Iman Shumter territory, because now you have the courts saying that you can't even share information, not just photos and videos. That's the obvious. But Tayana Taylor just went through this with Iman Shumter, where she got fed up with whatever she claims he was lying about, and she went online and went on a rant and discussed information about the minor children that she shouldn't have. And so it wasn't photos, it wasn't videos, it was information about what was going on with the children, and she was hit with a $70K fine. And so now Haley and DDG have entered this territory now where they can't even talk about their minor child in terms of mentioning any information as it relates to Halo. So I think it's unfortunate when courts have to get involved to this extent, but here we are. They also are not allowed to cause others to post videos or photos or disseminate information, which is going to be tough to do because they have a lot of family and friends. The custody order, temporary custody order, also shared his new schedule. So he gets him every Saturday, every other Sunday, and also every Wednesday. Every Saturday and every other Sunday from 9 to 6 p.m. What's interesting here is it doesn't necessarily say that the visits have to be supervised. It says that he is open to them being supervised, which is completely different from it being mandatory. So wanted to also make that note there. And if there's anything mandatory about the visits, it's because she exposed physical abuse earlier this year with photos and text messages about the fights that they were getting into. However, DDG fought back with his own accusations regarding Haley Bailey's physical and verbal abuse, and also, most importantly, self-harm. His accusations regarding self-harm were so extensive that he attempted to use that as a way to prevent her from actually leaving this summer to film in Italy with her son. He was not successful. They still allowed her to go. They allowed him to also visit supervised this summer so that he wouldn't go a whole summer without his son. But his accusations about self-harm and things like that, Haley actually has been open about somewhat regarding her postpartum, but he feels like she can harm herself, she could harm the child, and so this should be a mitigating factor that the court should look at when they're thinking about custody. Remember, she filed for sole physical and legal custody. What does that mean? Sole physical and legal custody. So, sole physical custody means that the child primarily lives with you and the other parent just visits. Versus legal custody means you make all the legal decisions about the child, the health care, the education, anything legal, any legal decision about the child. You pretty much have the only say. I'm sure DDG doesn't want that. And so he's going to fight really, really hard for the joint physical and legal custody. And you have to keep in mind, most states presume, there's a presumption that there should be joint physical and legal custody. You have to show that there's been some sort of abuse and neglect that actually affects the child to warrant that there shouldn't be joint physical and legal custody. I think the problem or the uphill battle Haley will have is that her evidence so far of getting a restraining order against him and her accusations against him are as it relates to abuse to her, right? Because she's shown bruises on her body and text messages of fights, but it hasn't really shown how it would affect her child. And so that's her uphill battle. She's already asking for a new judge. Their next trial date is October 15th. So we will continue to monitor this story. We are so sorry that this is happening to the Little Mermaid. Who knew all this was going behind cameras? I think that just goes to show you never know what's happening in people's real lives. This has been the Entertainment Esquire. Thank you for watching. You can find us on all our social media handles at The Entertainment ESQ, on YouTube at The Entertainment Esquire, and of course on all streaming platforms, your podcast platforms, also at The Entertainment Esquire. Take care, everyone.